So we will discuss mantra 12. Andam tamapas vishanti ye sambhutim pasate tato bhuya ibate tamo ya usambhutyam rata. Those who are engaged in the worship of demigods enter into the darkness region of ignorance, and still more so do the worshippers of the impersonal absolute truth. Please repeat. Those who are engaged in worship of the demigods enter into the darkest region of ignorance. And still more so do the worshippers of the impersonal Brahma, of the impersonal absolute. It's similar to text 9 in the sense. We go to mantra 9. There it is said, those who engage in nascent activities shall enter into the darkest region of ignorance, that were those who act just for sense gratification like the animals. And those who are engaged in culture of wolves are still those in the culture of so-called knowledge, those who present knowledge, but it's ignorance, that who make plans for sense gratification, just thinking we are the body, and propagate that as knowledge, they are worse. So we have the same thing here in terms of, but not in terms of worship. In terms of worship. So we go to mantra 12. So this is part 2. We have to start with part 1. Because part 1 is here. But I have to share again, because it shows on the screen. Good. So you have again a set of 3 verses, verse 12, 13, and 14. And it's all about asambhuti is sambhuti. That the improper worship and proper worship. Yeah. But asambhuti and sambhuti has a different meaning in each verse. Like in the previous 3 verses, you have vidya and avidya had a different meaning. So in the previous verse, you had avidya in the first verse was those who pursue sense gratification, like the animals without knowledge. And then vidya means those who will make plans for sense gratification, right? That will use their intelligence, then in the next verse, the vidya from the first verse became the avidya of the next verse. And pursuing for sense gratification of Krishna consciousness. That's 2 different destinations. And in the last verse, we said, who knows, who has material knowledge and spiritual knowledge at the same time and combines it, he can attain liberation. So we have the same thing here. The sambhuti and asambhuti and sambhuti. That asambhuti takes one to darkness. These are the demigods worshipped. And and Sambhuti to greater darkness. These are the impersonalists. And a Sambhuti gives one result and Sambhuti another result. We'll see the meaning of that. And in 14, a Sambhuti and Sambhuti together grant immortality. The same thing. The same structure is there. It's a whole intellectual composition. It's made for those who like to think about things a little deeper. That for kind of philosophers who like that speculators. Yeah. But of course, there are two kinds of speculation we will learn in Bhagavad Gita. Mental speculation and philosophical speculation. Mental speculation is speculation based on the mind, has no value. But philosophical speculation is speculation based on the scriptures with the purpose to show how the scriptures are true. That Srila Prabhupada explains, I think it's in the 14th chapter, I'm not sure. Yeah, this is the 14th chapter. If one understands this chapter to the purpose of philosophical speculation, he will come to an understanding of devotional service. Because this is the three modes, chapter 14. And at the end of this chapter, Krishna concludes, Mamsya vyabhacharana bhakti-yogana sevate sarganam samatichetam brahmabhaya kalpate. By devotional service, you can transcend these modes. So that's the conclusion. That so there are these kinds of speculation, but this is philosophical speculation. It's based on the scripture. It's very valuable. It's a difference. So for understanding the meaning, we need to see the text and the context of each verse here. And that we will look. That meaning and semantics is a profound branch of knowledge. Semantics means the science of meanings. Words have a certain meaning, but because people use certain words in a certain context, the meanings are changed. Yeah? The surroundings in which the words are used is important. Those who are engaged in the worship of demigods enter into the darkest region of ignorance, and still more so do the worshippers of the impersonal truth. So those within the Vedic path get deviated from the personality of Godhead many times. So this is the three kind of meanings. Asambhuti means the worship of demigods. Sambhuti means the worship or trying to attain merging with the absolute truth. That's in verse 13, 12, and in 13, Asambhuti means anything other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sambhuti means the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's Krishna consciousness. And 14 means, Sambhuti means knowledge of the material world. And Sambhuti means knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You must get both, understand both to attain Krishna consciousness. Because you have learned in Nectar of Instruction, verse 2, things to reject, not to do. And then in verse 3 of Nectar of Instruction, things to do, right? So you must know what not to do and what to do. That's knowledge of the material world. We need how to advance in devotional service. Because not associating with materialists, for example, that's knowledge of the material world. You have to know what's a materialist and what's the effect on your consciousness. if we associate with them. Anyway, that will be clearer if we go through it. But now, yes, the next. So this is the overview of Mantra 12. Paragraph 1 to 3, Srila Prabhupada writes about even the demigods and rishis misunderstand the absolute truth to be impersonal. In 4.7, demigods worshippers stay in the dark material world. In paragraph 7 to 10, impersonalists who mislead people go to the darkest region of hell. That Prabhupada speaks about demigod worshippers and impersonalists. So, is demigod worship good or bad? What is the purpose of demigod worship? That the scriptures mention that the Supreme Lord is so great that he cannot be understood. Krishna complains about that in Bhagavad Gita. That, let's see. In many verses, he speaks about that. I think, especially in the 7th chapter, it starts with his complaints. It's funny. Yeah. Deluded by the three modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance, the whole world does not know me, who am above the modes and inexhaustible. So Krishna says, nobody knows me in this world. That, and in the 10.2, Krishna says, Nate vitu suraga na prabha namarsha amadhya devana marsham sarvasa. Neither the host of demigods nor the great sages know my origin or opulences. For in every aspect I am the source of this, the demigods and the sages. A little further in the 10th chapter, 10.14, Naite bhagavam vyaktim vidur devana danava. Neither the demigods nor the demons, O Lord, can understand your personality. So it's complex. This is a theme in Bhagavad Gita. The Supreme Lord is not easy understood. That so when we don't have a proper understanding, then we have to be very careful. We have to be very careful when we understand. The demigods, they stay in this material world. They continue in the cycle of birth and death. That is regretted here in this verse. The focus is to elevate people to the highest goal, to elevate them to bring them down to lower goals. It's not encouraged. So what is the logic of demigod worship? What is the purpose of the Vedic literature to present demigod worship? The idea is to give an opportunity to people to be gradually elevated. Gradually come to goodness, because they are too degraded, they cannot be elevated directly. That's not possible. So the system of demigod worship. Moment. Yeah. The system of demigod worship, according to the perspective of the Vedic literature, is in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. 3, chapter 9. The great sage Yajnavalkya is asked the critical question, Kati Devahi, how many devatas are there? I don't know if it's here. No. Anyway, we will come to that. His answer progresses from 3003, 303, 33, 6, 3, 2, and finally 1. And he answers as if there is no contradiction in the various answers. So it is like, that's interesting, very puzzling. It is like one king and many ministers. All the demigods are parts of the same system. An arrangement is required to bring the conditions so lead to pure devotion and service. That anyway, many things here. Here. Yeah. So the Vedic system of multi-level worship bears testimony to 1, a unique concern for the individuality of the worshipper, and 2, an unparalleled flexibility of the worshipable in making himself accessible. It is intermediate worship of the representatives of the Supreme Lord. So there is a concern for the individuality of the worshipper. Every individual may not be ready to worship the Supreme Lord. But if they accept one demigod as supreme and reject all the others, then there is no way for them to advance. Therefore, for demigods worship is an arrangement of the Lord to get individuals the opportunity to worship his representatives. The demigods are his representatives. Like you go to a priest and you ask, you do a fire sacrifice, you are the Brahmin, and you do it on my behalf. That offer it to the Supreme Lord. So the demigods are like that. We go to them and they offer to the Supreme Lord. So Krishna is making himself accessible to his ministers. By their worship, they get elevated and get a higher understanding. So the main point is not everyone is ready to accept the Supreme Lord. They want wealth, they want to enjoy in this world, so bewildered by it, and they are not ready to give that up. But Krishna wants to be flexible. Okay, you want that, you worship this demigod. Okay, so is it good or bad that someone worships a demigod? And this is an interesting example. So is 60% score good or bad? For one capable of scoring 40%, it is excellent. But for one capable of scoring 80%, it is undesirable. So is demigod worship good or bad? For atheists and materialists, it is recommended. But for serious spiritual seekers, it is discouraged. That's the point made here. But now, this is in the there's a lot of I'll tell you 2 stories. And Vallabhacharya was a worshipper of both Lord Shiva and Lord Krishna. One time he had great difficulties, reversals in his life, and he went to a Shiva temple praying to Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva appeared before him and he asked what he wanted. And Vallabhacharya prayed, "Whatever is most dear to you, please give that to me." And Lord Shiva smiled and said, "Lord Krishna is my dearmost object of love." And Vallabhacharya became a devotee of Lord Krishna. So he was elevated to the devotional understanding. We have also in Chaitanya Charitamrita the story of Keshav Kashmiri. Everyone knows the story, Keshav Kashmiri. Nimai Pandit.
Because he considered himself and the others Pandit.
It was a Digbijay. It got the blessings of Mother Saraswati that he could defeat everyone in logic. Digbijay. And he would come with many servants, with elephants, and defeat all the pandits and let them sign a paper, pay a tax. Not. And he came to he came to Navadvip and he met Nimai Pandit. And Nimai Pandit said, "We are very, very happy to see you. I'm an ordinary grammar teacher. So please, that it is no use of defeating me. But please share with us your wisdom." Well, Keshav Kashmiri said, "You asked me what do you want to hear? Well, compose 100 verses glorifying the Ganga. And like a wind, he composed 100 Sanskrit verses glorifying the Ganga, one after another. And when he finished, what he asked Nimai Pandit, what do you think of my poetry? And Nimai Pandit said, "It's beautiful, praiseworthy. There are some little flaws in it." And Keshav Kashmiri said, "Flaws? In my point, that's not possible. Show which flaws." And Nimai Pandit repeated verse 64 and showed, I think, three errors according to Sanskrit poetry rules. Kashmiri Pandit became white. He said, "How is this possible? I recited these verses as the wind, and you remember a complete verse, number 64. So just you must be the Supreme Personality of God." So he was defeated, and he could not sleep at night. He could not sleep because he got the blessings from Mother Saraswati that he could defeat everyone. He was praying, he was chanting his Savitri mantra to please Mother Saraswati. And Mother Saraswati appeared in his dream and said, "Oh, yes, I gave you this blessing that nobody could defeat you, that you could not defeat any human being who would be able to defeat you. but you had met my Lord, the Supreme Lord. And then the day after, Keshav Kashmir went to surrender to Lord Chaitanya. You are my Supreme Lord. But in my Upanishads, you tell nobody about this, no one about it. Anyway, that's there's also the story of Shandidas. Shandi Das. He was the servant, he was worshipping the goddess Shandi. And his brother was a devotee of Krishna, and he was worshipping the Salagram Shila. Shandidas had a garden with flowers. He cultivated flowers for the worship of Shandi. And his brother Krishna Das asked, can I have some flowers from that garden for the worship of my Salagram Shila? And his brother said, no, this is reserved only for the worship of Shandi. But his brother was thinking, yeah, okay, I will offer all the flowers in his garden, in my mind, to my Salagram Shila. And the next day, Shandi Das does his worship. And he offered flowers from his garden. And suddenly, the goddess started to speak to him. I said, I'm very pleased that you are with your offering these flowers. And Shandida said, this is the first time you speak to me. But why are you so pleased? And Shandi, the goddess Shandi said, because you are offering the Mahaprasad offered to my Lord. That you offered to me. Yeah. Anyway. And then Shandida said, are you not supreme? And Shandida said, Shandi goddess said, no, I'm the servant of Vishnu, Krishna. And then he became a devotee of Krishna. That is an instance of that deity worship. Sometimes worshippers, they finally become worshippers of Krishna. That time. So demigod worship can work. But many demigod worshippers become mistaken in who is supreme. They cannot become liberated from material existence. Therefore, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Yanti Devata Dvam Pitri Yanti Pitri Vata. Those who worship the demigods go to the demigods. Those who worship the Pitris go to the Pitris, and so on. That first you will discuss in Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna is the ultimate destination, and she Isopanisad focuses on it. That the worshippers of demigods enter into darkness. That there are many verses of Bhagavad Gita. I'm not going to quote them, but I can give you the numbers: 925, 720 to 720 to 723. These are the main. And then, yes, I think this is in the Brihadaranya Upanishad. The great sage Yajnavalkya asked the critical question. Yeah, that we just said that. And finally one. So the finally one, who is the finally one? It's Krishna. That. And who are these three? These three, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. That. And so it expands like that. I don't remember the others, but anyway, that's Yajnavalkya is a case. That's when we study the course Vedas en Upanishad at de university. Zeg, ja, welke is een karakter? Dat is very, I must say, it's amazing to study this Upanishads. So this is part 2, the last part. This is part 1. Okay, this we must need part 2. Part 2. PA 12a B. Here it is. Yeah. The Mayavadis, that's where Srila Prabhupada speak about that. It's a lot of things about Mayavadism. It's a whole history of the Mayavadis and the fight against the Mayavadis, but I will try to give you an introduction to it. So we have already heard there are Mayavadis and Brahmavadis. Well, 12 Brahmavadis, who remembers? What's their problem?
The Brahman is the highest.
Brahman is highest, and they don't know really what's supreme. That is it Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu, Lord Shiva. Mayavadis, they make an offense against Krishna. Abhajanate mamuda manusham tanim ashritam. That's explained in 9:11. Abhajanate mamuda. I think that the Mayavadis, they think that Krishna has a body made of material energy, and that Brahman is supreme, is a temporary manifestation. That yes. So Krishna has a material body. That I've here the history of the Mayavadis, the modern application, everything. But it will lead us too far to go into that. But I will give you a few things about Mayavadis. So, so Bhakti means realization of our spiritual form. The Jnana Kanda, the Jnanis, they are impersonalist is a transition facilitating the going from matter to spiritual form. So the Jnanis, what is their philosophy? Their philosophy is neti. I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm not that. And finally, what's left, that's the spirit. That's Sankhya. And then they come to the conclusion, I'm not this body, I must be spiritual. That's the Jnanis. And then you have the Karma Kanda in the Vedas. It's religious materialism provided by the Vedas. This karma is supreme. Karma Mimamsa is one of the 6 darshans also. And Krishna preaches that jokingly in the 10th canto to convince its father not to worship Indra. He said, we don't need the Indra. You don't need to worship him. You just do pious activities, and then Indra must give us rain, because that's the reaction. And there is no God. Krishna speaks. This karma mimamsa. That's the karma kanda. Religious materialism. How to enjoy in a religious way, not simple, religious, and enjoy more and more, but remain in this material world. Then you have the upward celebration from karma kanda to jnana kanda to bhakti. So karma kanda, they go up to the heavenly planets and they come back. They give charity, they go do pious activities, and they go to the heavenly planets and they stay there for some time because of their bank balance of pious credits. It's finished, they come back, and then they do the same, making pious credits. They go up and they come back again, they go up, they come back. And after going up and back in a certain lifetimes, they ask the question, why am I going up and back? I'm only going up and back. Who am I? And then they come to the point of, they become inquisitive. Who am I? Then they come to jnana kanda. They try to find out who I am. And Sankhya of the jnanis, they also discuss Vedanta Sutra, to understand who they are. Then they come to the conclusion, I'm spiritual. I'm not a body. That's a known endeavor to come to the point to understand that you are not a body. That's many lifetimes. And then, mostly, that's not mentioned here, many of them, they want to experience being spiritual. And they go into yoga practice. They perform yoga to have a spiritual experience. Mostly they are deviated. They are deviated by mystic powers. Or they are deviated by, by the idea of merging with the Supreme. And then finally, they come to the realization of the super soul. And they understand, oh, there's also a super soul who controls the material world and everything. We are not in control. Good to know. And what's the result? You stay in this material world, that's all. That's the whole result of the yoga practice. You may merge with the Supreme Brahman for some time, but you have to come back. That's in Jere van Daksha, Vimuktamanast, Vastava, Visudaba, and Buddha, Aruya Kashena Prampadam, Patantia, the Yatuda, which, that's all in the Bhagavatam. They come up and they come down finally, because there is no activity in Brahman. So mostly, Krishna will say in the Bhagavatam, Bhaunam Jnananam Ante Jnanamam Papachde Bhausev Savamati Samatma Sudolaba. After many, many lifetimes, they come to the conclusion the cause of everything is Krishna, Vasudeva. This Paramatma is an expansion of Vasudeva. And then they become devout. So that's all transitional. It has stages of coming to bhakti, but you have to go from one stage to another to come to bhakti. But you don't have to go to these stages. You just join ISKCON and you take initiation and you chant Hare Krishna and you go also to these stages. That, but yeah, that's the process of bhakti that leads you, because spiritual form, you act immediately as your with your as a soul, as you act as a spiritual form from the beginning. From the beginning, you chant and you feel, I'm not this body. You don't have much realization, but you feel something is different. That, yeah. Like a coconut covered by a husk. So, the universe is covered by the material elements, thus it's dark, airtight. We need sun here, the moon is a dark place. So, this is the history of Mayavadi. I will tell you a few things about it, because I would need another 2-3 hours to go to this. I'm not going to do that. Within 10 minutes, I will give you an idea, right? That first, their philosophy. They divide the scriptures into 2 parts: Vyavaharika, all form and variety, and Paramartika, formless, transcendental. The Paramartika, the formless, that is their goal, to enter Brahman. And all the other mentioned in the scriptures, which are not leading to that, they are material, useless. They are practical for the time being. But that's not in the scriptures, that you can split these scriptures. The Mahavakya, the big statement of the Mayavadis, Aham Brahmasmi. They say that these statements are higher reality, and everything else lower is not reality. It's a system by which all troublesome statements of the scriptures which are against their philosophy are rejected as a lower level. It doesn't fit in our philosophy, lower level of scripture. That they decide that it's not in the scriptures, this thing. Why had Shankaracharya to teach this? Because Buddhism had spread all over the country, and people had to be brought back into the Vedic fold, because the Buddhists had rejected the Vedas, and he wanted to bring the Vedas back. But he had to do it gradually. So people started to misuse the Karmakanda section in the Vedas to engage in unrestricted animal killing in the name of doing jagyas. So, and then Buddha came, and he said he rejected the Vedas, and he brought the philosophy of ahimsa. He said, don't bother about God. You cannot know him. Just practice morality, right conduct, follow these 8 noble truths. So he brought people back to goodness, to a state of pre-religion. So in Buddhism, there was no caste consciousness. We cannot speak about higher realities without scripture. To get people back into the Vedic fold, Shankaracharya could not give the complete conclusions. So he changed the name. Instead of Buddhism, it became Sunya, void. And Buddhism is quite the same, make the mind void. And become Brahman. He purposely, historically, checked the Buddhism that is in history. He wiped out Buddhism out of India and reinstated it, Shankaracharya. So Shiva tells Parvati that in Kali Yuga he will appear to spread the Mayavad philosophy. So is Lord Shiva, Shankaracharya. Both Buddhist and Mayavadi philosophy focus on the void. The transition became a disastrous blending. It allowed people to say that there is no God, everything is Brahman. This is the ultimate glorification of the false ego. This is different from the, yeah. So there is this historical plan. I'm going to tell you the whole history in 2 minutes. My Guru Maharaj gave a seminar on this of 10 sessions or so. We'll try to do it in 2 minutes. So you will. So the Buddhists said, and they said everything is zero. Then Shankaracharya came and said, no, it's not zero. Everything is one, Brahman. And then later, Madhvacharya came and said, no. It's not zero, it's not one. Everything is two. The living entity and God are completely different. And then Lord Chaitanya came and he said, no, it's not zero, it's not one, it's not two, it's one and two at the same time. The living entity and God are equal in quality, but not in quantity. It's asintya abheda tattva, that inconceivable oneness and difference. And that's the philosophy. So historically, there is a plan by the Lord, and Lord Chaitanya appeared and he put it right. But to understand this, that would take a long explanation in zero. It would take a long explanation. We don't have the time that, but I'm sure one day you will hear the seminar of my Guru Maharaj, Bhakti Maharaj, on that, and you can get all the details. That's anyway. So scriptural contradictions. That this is Mayavadi philosophy, and this is showing their contradictions. So Mayavada is a deviant and transitional teachings. Yeah. They took elements from different sources. Everything what's impersonal, they draw from the Upanishads. And the sugar of social service from Christianity, seva to the people. That is their school of karma yoga. And they took the spice of nationalism from the Indian independence movement, because they wanted to unite India. And there was, and in India, Hinduism does not exist. There are maybe 500 kinds of religions in India, all called Hinduism. And they wanted, and personal and impersonal, that all branches of Vedas, some follow it, some not. But they have something in common. But they wanted to make a common factor, and they wanted to use Shankaracharya's impersonalism to unite them. This is our religion. And envy of Krishna from the hearts of the conditioned souls. To become Brahman and become God is quite envious of Krishna. So that is every point here I can explain, but it takes us too long. That I can give one time lecture on that, but I explained it more or less when I explained it. If you want to hear it, I will show you where I explain it. These are desires caused by my avadis, that it deprives the soul of its natural higher taste for bhakti. It makes material life appear more attractive than spiritual life. Yeah, that's the point. But I show you, because there are different, also the reasons why I do not want to go in too deep into this, because it's not really part of the course to go in that detail. But I explained it when I gave the online course, Simhachalam in New York. Moment, I show you. Mhm. It's here. Yeah. Where is it? Should be there. Ah, here. Yeah, this we can put here. See, if it comes. That's the website, College of Vedic Studies. Playlists. Isopanisad, full playlist. It is Isopanisad that I presented for New York. Mantras 12 to 16. This one, it's 3 hours. So there you can, I explain it. It started in the beginning why they rejected us, because they started to misuse karma, to engage in animal killing. Okay, so that's it. There I explain everything. And if you want to hear it, oh. What I do, yeah, that is the, then we have to go back. Anyway, I will post the link on our WhatsApp group. You can hear the entire lecture and the whole history of Mayavadi philosophy, if you are interested. So if other people was kind of state of fear, and when Buddhism there was countless Buddhist books on criticize the people. Anyway, there. Any questions? Yes.
So you said that the Mayavadis they derive the reject the soul. So this is not, how could it be? Because then without accepting the existence of the soul, they can't go to non-duty. How it happens? How they can derive the existence of the soul? And the second question is, shall we all go through this?
Yeah, let's start with the first question. You said, how can they derive the existence of the soul? They don't derive the existence of the soul. But they say that the soul becomes one with Brahman. And Brahman is a kind of super consciousness. And that's God. So I become God. But in the Bhagavad Gita, it said that the soul never leaves, never can lose its individuality. We shall say it clearly. So it's not that merging is not becoming one, but they enter into the Brahman, but retain their individuality. So then they are in Brahman, and it's peaceful. It's much better than in the cycle of birth and death. And they remain there for a long time. But experience the peace. But after a few millions of years, it becomes very boring. There's nothing to do. And the soul wants activity because this is servant of Krishna. And then they come back, they fall back to the material world. So that is what happens. They're becoming one with the Supreme is their imagination. It is like two birds in a tree. You have a green tree, a green foliage, and you have two green birds, and they enter the tree. You don't see them anymore because they are merged with all the green, but they are still there. And that is what happens with that. Yeah, they have to come back. Yeah, because the soul feels only satisfied when there's activity. We must be active. You cannot be inactive. That's what Krishna says in the beginning of the third chapter, very clear. And the second part?
One duty to understand the Supreme, to want to understand how to go these ups and downs, to understand what is the way of consciousness. Is it? Yes.
It's necessary to understand that this process of Brahman realization is a stage of coming to Bhakti. And that we don't have to take this stage. We can take the lift, the direct method. And direct method is practice of devotional service. But even by practice of devotional service, you must first, before you come to spiritual life, really, you must first come to Brahman realization. And that's liberation from a Buddha platform. We have also to come to that platform. But we have one method to go through that. And that's much more easy than their process. We can take prasadam, we can chant, we can do all the spiritual activities. But and it's joyful. That it's joyful and satisfying, even in the conditioned state. And their process takes many births and so much problems that yes.
Where are the Mayavadis being found in the West, because they don't call themselves Mayavadis? So
I just told you about Machado. Monsieur Machado, representatives of the Vatican, in 2004, we asked him at the communications meeting in Bergamo that what is the idea of the Catholics of the form of God? And he said the form of the form that Moses saw on the mountain, on the top of the mountain, the fell, the intense light in a bush. That's the form. That's very close to Brahman. So where are these Mayavadis? Even in Christianity, you find the Mayavadis all prevailing. The scientists are Mayavadis. They deny the existence of God. They say everything comes from a big bang, from a void, that everything came from nothing. That's yes. Advaita Vedanta. Advaita Vedanta, yeah, that's Sankaracharya, Advaita Vedanta. That is their philosophy, that's the name of their philosophy, Advaita Vedanta. That many even following that also, many yogas, so-called yoga schools, they follow that also. But not all yoga schools are following Advaita Vedanta. Yeah? Vivekananda, oh, that's another thing. Vivekananda, he said all paths lead to the same thing. That and he practiced all religions practically. But then he went to in 1986. He went to Chicago as the first Indian representing Indian religion, and he represented Advaita Vedanta as the religion for India, which was wrong. It was more, at least 60% were Vaishnavas. It was wrong, and still we are suffering from it. Yes. Well, about worship of demigods, and one devotee wrote Prabhupada that can we worship Ganesh to get more wealth for our Sankirtans? And Prabhupada said yes. Yes, but you must promise to give me at least $100,000. But it's not recommended. In act of devotion, there is, yes, Ganesh. We can pray to Ganesh to remove the obstacles in our devotional service. Can pray to Lord Nrsimhadev also to do that. Namaste asya baba vachnaka vachilam skama sumadayita mokasa abhyam abhyamatmi vistyam shram. The prayer of Prahlad Maharaj to Lord Nrsimhadev. Oh Lord Nrsimhadev, you have these powerful nails. So please be merciful and do the operation. Go into my heart and take away everything but all the dirt from my heart. In the purport of this verse in the 5th canto, Prabhupada writes, devotees should learn to pray like this, have the courage to pray like this. Take it away. But it's not going to do it. It's not. You must really want it. But I know a devotee, she went to Vrindavan and prayed to the Krishna Balaram, please take everything away what's between me and you. Take all the attachments away. And then she came home and she heard that her husband had a relation with someone else. So Krishna took away the attachment. So you have to have courage to pray like this and accept what Krishna does. That we must be that's yes.
I would be very much interested in a very detailed explanation of the anatomy process. Is there any available?
Madhurya Kanambini. There is called Anartha-nivritti. And in Harinam Chintamani, it's called Namavas. But factually, you can understand that if you have read the entire Bhagavatam and the entire Chaitanya Charitamrita and you studied them deeply, then you can understand that. Otherwise, I don't recommend to study this prematurely. This is not a thing for beginners to study. Don't do it. Learn Bhakti Sastri. And try to understand all these books. And then the Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, then you can study this. Because there are so many references to all these scriptures. And this reference, it will be unclear for you. But it's not good to go to the scriptures of these advanced acharyas, jumping over Prabhupada. Not good. Good. Thank you very much. Then we continue. Tomorrow we have still a big day. First mantra 13 in the morning, then at noon 14, 15, and then in the evening 16, 17, 18. These are small verses, these ones. Thank you. Yeah.
What about Sufism?
Sufism, Sufism, these are good friends. They chant also the name of Krishna, of God. Yeah, the Sufism. It is in a part of the Islam. And in Iran and so on, they are prosecuted. That's considered a deviation, but they are a kind of Vaishnavas, very nice. That some of them also composed songs on the Brahma Samhita and so on. But you have also in the Jews, the Kabbalists are also chanting the names of God. Also considered for the Jews a deviation. But they were very favorable to us, and many became devotees. They were already devotees. These are traditions that are very close to us. I remember because I developed also the preaching. I worked on developing the preaching in Flanders, and in Ghent we didn't have a center, but the Sufis were always ready to give their place, and they attended our lectures also, and they took prasadam. But they are a kind of impersonalist. That's the end point. But they are chanting also that because the leader at that time. That interesting. She passed away a few years ago, but she left a few disciples. And then, because they are following a kind of book, it's not like a Gita, but it's also verses from the Islam, but it's composed by sages in their tradition. And when I got that book in the translation that they gave me as a present, and I came to see the disciples, and I gave a lecture. I used their book, and I read from verses from their book, and the meaning was direct and clear. The same meaning is in the Bhagavad Gita. So I gave them the explanation of the meaning of the Bhagavad Gita. I gave a whole lecture on Krishna consciousness in their tradition. It was interesting. And then after that, they wanted me to come again. They wanted to become my disciple. I said, "Oh, I can help you, but, but I cannot." But it's interesting. They are close to us. But still there are differences also. Yeah.
Why is it that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on so many occasions didn't want it to be considered as God?
Because he appeared in Kali Yuga as Bhakta Rupa, in the form of a devotee. Because what was the problem? Krishna says, Sarvadam Pracham Mamkam Sambhacham Tvam Sarvabhyo Mokshishya Matra, surrender unto me. But in Kali Yuga, no one wants to surrender to anyone. And that's Kali Yuga. So Krishna said, how am I going to solve them? That how will they know how to practice Krishna consciousness? So I will come, but in the form of my own devotee. And so he came in the form of his own devotee, Bhakta Rupa. And he didn't want anyone to call him God. Because he played that role. But there are instances in which he showed clearly that he was a supreme God. The story of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and before he showed his Sadbhuj form, that so many things happened in South India also. Anyway, that's the state of Mahabharata. But that's the reason. He wanted to show how to live as a devotee. Then that was his mission, to spread the chant of the holy names as a process, the Yuga Dharma of the Kali Yuga. Good. Thank you very much. Kantaraj. Isopanisad ki, Ila Prabhupada ki.